Yeah, my story, I guess, started on the 7th of April last year. I woke up feeling quite tired and exhausted. I had a random seizure in the shower. I was rushed to Geelong Hospital, the emergency department here, and then straight on to the Alfred, where I had another seizure following that. I woke up 2 days later, and none the wiser, no recollection of what had happened. The only sort of lasting memory was sitting on the couch eating toast with my son. As I came to, my wife, filled me in on what had happened, and at that point we didn't know what it was. I'd had a number of scans. I thought it may have been a brain infection or an infection on the brain. After more tests and scans and regular checkups with the staff at the Alfred, they'd picked up what they thought was a mass on the brain. At that point we'd had more PET scans to determine how aggressive the tumour was, whether it was a tumour. Again, at this point, after many specialists looking at it, they weren't sure. We had a PET scan, the results came back relatively okay, that they figured it was a slow-growing tumour. I'd still opted to have the brain surgery, just for my own peace of mind, knowing that it was out, and to have the best fighting chances possible. Going back to get the results wasn't at all what we expected, but they'd picked up that it was an anaplastic astrocytoma, or stage 3 brain cancer, and yeah, it knocked us down quite heavily. I was then referred on to Andrew Love, Dr. Graham Pitts and Professor David Ashley. The first treatment plan being radiation for 6 weeks, which I undertook at mid-August, and then following that 12 months of chemotherapy, which I'm undergoing at the moment. Since getting that diagnosis, instinctively my thoughts went to my 2 kids, Henry and Sadie, who were 3.5 and 1.5 at the time, and how I would want it explained to them if I wasn't around, and that's where the idea for the book came from. My daddy's important new job. We'd done a little bit of research just in terms of what resources were out there for children of that age who are probably too young to have death explained to them, but old enough to appreciate storytelling and storybooks and using their imagination. So the book itself, I'd written the words to the book within 4 days of the diagnosis, and then having it illustrated and externally sourced from graphic designers from all over the world. And when I wake again tomorrow, Daddy won't be here, but as long as the sun has risen high, I know that he is near. For this is Daddy's important new job, whether to make the sun shine bright or to fill the sky up with stars that will light up the darkest night. Well, initially we printed up 1 copy of the book. It was only ever designed to be 1 copy for our kids. And once we received it, my wife suggested that we sort of put it out there in the open, and just to see, because as she said, if it helps one other family, it's done its job. So we set up a crowdfunding campaign. We launched in October, and it was fully funded within 24 hours, to the point where we'd actually received double the amount of donations that were required to print 1,000 copies of the book. So from there, we got the first order. We had roughly 400 pre-orders through the crowdfunding page. We had a lot of people just donating their money for the cause. We received the books just before Christmas Eve. Prior to that, we'd received 4 advance copies, which we'd selected 4 families who had been in touch during the crowdfunding period, who had recently lost their husbands across the year, and their children were similar ages as mine. So we'd sent those copies out to those 4 families so that they would receive those before Christmas. And then we received the first order of 1,000 copies, and we spent most of the summer holidays posting out over 500 books to not only families touched by cancer, but people that were actually purchasing the books just to donate them to libraries, to childcare centres, to counsellors, to hospitals, which was really heartwarming. Some stories are happy, some are sad. This story is about a loving dad. Sometimes in life it's important to know that people can stay and people can go. This loving daddy so wanted to stay, but his important new job sent him away. Explore his new job whilst reading this book, for it will help you to find him and know where to look. The books are sent to every state in Australia, to New Zealand, to the USA, to Barcelona, to the UK. And it was the stories that were coming from people, again, had been looking for resources to explain to their children, and not only where their fathers went, but their mothers, their grandparents, brothers, sisters. We had a lot of requests for more books, which is, a really comforting response. Yeah, I guess that's sort of been the overwhelming thing, and based on that support, we've successfully been able to raise over $10,000 for charities, and the 3 nominated charities that I put down for recipients of the book purchases were the Andrew Love Cancer Centre, Peace of Mind Foundation in Geelong, as well as Carrie's Beanies for brain cancer. For me personally, my treatment plan is going well as possible at the moment, and now 5 months into my 12-month chemo plan, and so far it's the support from the nurses and the staff here and the doctors and specialists who make the whole experience, I guess, a lot easier to deal with. I guess the regional hospital, you feel more part of a community. Metro Hospital, just based on numbers alone, it's hard to facilitate those touch points with your specialists and your carers, so that's something that I'm truly grateful for.